Welcome back to Winners and Losers, ladies and gentlemen, the show that looks at the highs and the lows of the footballing weekend just gone. Joining me today, as always, it's Joe Thomlinson. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Pretty good sporting weekend in the Thomlinson household this weekend. Exeter Chiefs absolutely handed one out to Lyon. And then obviously Manchester United not playing well, but doing enough to sort of, not going to say we're guaranteeing top four, but push it pretty tight.
That's the United season in general. Mikey McCubbin is also here joining us, mate. How's your weekend? How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. You're flanked by United fans today, which I'm sure you're very pleased about. Very smug ones at that. I'm going to go on further and say Champions League football is guaranteed now. 11 points clear of 4th or 5th. Yeah, I think
only 9 now, mate. Only 9 points now. West Ham.
Only 9? Oh yeah, of course, because West Ham.
Yeah.
Because West Ham. Yeah,
that's why I was nervous.
Monday table.
That's why I was nervous.
Only one. Okay, maybe not as much, but still, you know, it's Chelsea in 5th, so
we'll get on to them later on. But beforehand, of course, this show is sponsored for the rest of the season by Manscaped. If you want to get their quality products, and you can use the code FootballDaily20 for 20% off and free shipping with the discount code FootballDaily20. It's on screen right now, the link, and in the description below. Thank you guys for all of you at home that have already used it, and thank you for those that are going to use it as well. All right, boys, let's move on to the talking point. It is Newcastle who managed to pull off a last-minute 2-2 draw with Spurs, putting them 3 points ahead of Fulham with a game in hand as well. XG actually had Newcastle at winning the game at 4-2.
How?
4 goals is the third highest of any team this season on XG. And to put it into context on how well they dominated Spurs, they had 17 shots from inside of Spurs' box, their most of a Premier League game since recording 23 against Huddersfield back in 2019. Now, Joe, I know we've ripped into Newcastle plenty of times before, and deservingly so, but do you think they were much better, or was it that just Spurs were really, really bad?
They were definitely better. But Spurs were terrible defensively. I don't think it's an understatement to say allowing 4 expected goals against this Newcastle side is a crime. Honestly, it is so bad. I do not know how it's happened that a Jose Mourinho side is conceding 4 expected goals against a Steve Bruce Newcastle team. Joe Linton, I think, was that his 4th goal in like 62 games or something? He missed an absolute sitter.
Yeah, I think most of them all come against Spurs as well.
Yeah, he missed an absolute sitter as well. So he could quite comfortably have had 2. But yeah, do you know what? I'll say it was more to do with Tottenham's defensive shambles than it was Newcastle's excellence, although it was an improved performance. But we've seen little sparks like this, haven't we, from Newcastle? Everton away immediately springs to mind, where you thought, that's not a bit of a better performance, and then it's just back down to Groundhog Day, boring football, not being able to create a chance against anybody the week after. So I'm not getting my hopes up if I'm a Newcastle fan. I still don't think Steve Bruce is the right man to be in charge of that club, but this was a very good result in a weekend when Brighton and Fulham also dropped points.
Indeed. I mean, you say not to get your hopes up. However, Alan St-Maximin was back. We will get on to Callum Wilson in a second. Joe Willock also came off the bench, and they both helped Newcastle get the draw and gain a point. It was Maximin's first game back since his injury. Callum Wilson is hopefully back for their game against Burnley on Sunday as well. So if those two coming back to full fitness is a massive plus for them. I think ever since Wilson's been out, it's just gone downhill. However, their run isn't pretty. After Burnley, they have West Ham, Liverpool, Arsenal, Leicester City and Manchester City before facing Sheffield United and Fulham on the last day. Fulham still have to also play Arsenal, Chelsea and Manchester United out of their kind of big games. Mikey, do you think Newcastle can beat the drop?
I'd love to say no, but I think they can. I really think they can. Like you're saying, like Cameron Wilson's coming back. Alan St-Maximin came on in this game. Obviously, they've been their 2 star players this season, really, especially Callum Wilson, who's got 10 goals and 5 assists in a side which doesn't create any chances, at least until the weekend. So I think they definitely have a chance. They're 3 points ahead of Fulham, and they have a game in hand on them. And like you say, Fulham's running is not easy either. Obviously, they play Newcastle at home on the final day, so I think it will come down to that.
Oh, that'd be
and
brilliant.
let's not forget, like Brighton, I think are still they're still not safe either, even though they have a much superior goal difference to them. And yeah, they've got through this really sticky patch where they've not had Callum Wilson for nearly 2 months. And to be fair to Steve Bruce, like at least he's tried a few things in his absence, hasn't he? I mean, I don't watch them week in and week out, but having listened to Newcastle podcasts and whatnot, there was a sense, especially kind of February, March time, that without Callum Wilson, like Steve Bruce was actually trying a few new things, and Newcastle were actually playing slightly better football because they weren't just, sitting deep and just kind of giving it to Saint-Maximin as soon as they broke. So I think they've maybe slightly fortunately have been able to navigate this rough patch better than some expected. And yeah, they were much the better team against Tottenham, weren't they? But like I said as well, or like we were alluding to before, you're not going to come up against Rodon and Davinson Sanchez every weekend, and you're coming up against teams like Chelsea, who are going to be fighting hard for top four. You're going to be playing Burnley, who I think will be needing those points just to confirm their safety around that time. You're going to be playing, Sheffield United will already be down by the time they play them, so that will be hopefully a bit of a gimme for them. That's Fulham. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing here. They do play Sheffield United at home as well.
Yeah,
actually.
they do.
Newcastle. So, but then again, Fulham play them as well. So I don't know. Yeah, it's difficult to tell right now, but I think in 2 weeks we'll probably have a better understanding after they've played West Ham and Liverpool. By that point, Fulham will have played Wolves and Arsenal, and I think Fulham really missed an opportunity with Aston Villa on the weekend. I know they're a very good side, but they were without Jack Grealish. They outshot them. They got more shots on target against them as well. So yeah, I would be a little bit worried if I was a Fulham fan, because I think that was a massive chance against Aston Villa.
I'll tell you what though, just to interrupt, I would be more worried if I was a Tottenham fan after watching that Newcastle game, just to bring it back to the weekend's match, because they were just a mess, Newcastle. I think if Harry Kane isn't in that side, I dread to think where they are right now. And after the game, when Jose said, I think it was to 5 Live, wasn't it, that it's, same coach, different players.
Yeah. It's
just, I don't believe that tact of management of being able to dig your players out like Brian Clough used to do. Like, I watched a video clip the other day of Roy Keane saying that Brian Clough punched him in the face after a game once. Like, that quote on the weekend from Jose Mourinho will have been as good as a punch in the face to a lot of those Newcastle players, because they just won't respond to that. Spurs players. Sorry, I just don't believe that the modern day player is capable of taking that kind of level of criticism publicly and then going out and performing for you. I think that they need a totally different style of management, and that is just a painful quote if you're a player and you've not had a good game, and then Jose comes out and says that it's not his fault, it's yours.
But we've also seen it all before as well, right? Like, we saw it at Chelsea, we saw it at United. It's going that way. Like, it's not going to, I don't know if there's no Spurs fan that can look at it and go, oh, this is going to end pretty. Like, okay, you'll get a League Cup maybe if you manage to beat City in the final, but even like, if you actually look at the board, like they're still in contention in the league table. They're still in contention with the Champions League place, sure. But I mean, with the way they're performing and the way those work, like this, what Jose's saying, it's not going to end pretty at all.
I think what it is about that, if a manager does dig out his players, like it could get a reaction out of them, but with Jose, you just know at this point that he just sounds like a broken record, and you know that actually. It's just an excuse. Yeah. It's nothing more than that. There's no actual reality in it. Like this is a guy who's been backed more in his first year than Pochettino was in almost every year under Daniel Levy, and he's still not able to get consistent results. They've been in kind of crisis for most months this season, aside from those early stages. So yeah, it's just not that believable anymore, is it, with Jose?
Indeed. That's the problem. And I'm sure we'll see plenty more from him over the coming weeks. But look, the main talking point was Newcastle, and here's what the big man Steve Bruce had to say about their chances of survival.
When they set standards like they have today, it's important that you stay there. So we're in tomorrow, we'll start work again for next week. We've got a crucial few weeks, and and let's get ready for the challenge, because there's still a lot of football to be played. But if we stay at that level, then I'm convinced we'll still be okay.
On to our winners now, and it's none other than West Ham United. And the fans of West Ham United will be buzzing as they've overtaken Chelsea in 4th place after beating Wolves 3-2. This is West Ham's first ever top-flight double over Wolves, and the first in any league since 1922-23 season, so it's been a long time coming. There's a little fact for you. It's also the first time the Hammers have scored 3+ goals in the first half of consecutive Premier League games. Jesse Lingard has now been involved in 9 goals in his 8 Premier League appearances for West Ham since his debut back in February. No player has been involved in more Premier League goals than Jesse Lingard. Gets him on the plane. Mikey, what do you think the future is for Jesse? Does he get sold in the summer by United? Will he get a new contract? How do you think it's going to go?
Yeah, I mean, he almost certainly is on the plane in this form, isn't he? I mean, it's
no way. Come on, no way.
Right, Southgate loves him. He absolutely does. But, yeah, it's mad to see Jesse in this kind of form. It's just like, in those first few weeks, it was like, it felt like he was, clearly mentally was in a much better place.
Yeah.
New surroundings, coming into a team which was already playing very well and really suited to his style. And it was kind of like, it was the best form we'd seen from him since 2018. But now it's like, this is better than we've ever seen him, really. He really is in the form of his life, which is amazing to see. And just, that the run for that second goal, the setup for Jarrod Bowen was just top class, wasn't it? Skinning 2 players.
First goal, what a run.
Was absolutely running the show. The first goal as well was fantastic. It's like you kind of know what he's about, you know what he's going to do, but you can't stop him at the moment. So just really made up for him. But yeah, as for his future, I was seeing some reports saying that United are apparently going to bump up their asking price to £40 million, and he is playing like a £40 million player at the moment. But in reality, I'm not sure how easy it will be to do that for United. Obviously, I think not including an option to buy in the loan agreement in January was a good move, because I think it definitely anticipated an upturn in form. I think he was a £20 million player at the very most when he went.
Yeah.
Obviously, he hadn't played football in a long time, and I think there's a bit of a mix in terms of how he's been able to kind of find this kind of form now, and I think it's partly because he's a little bit fresher than these defences that have been playing 3 times a week for the last 7-8 months. But equally, I think it shows that he was working really, really hard on the training ground when he was still at United, to be able to kind of come into this side and mentally be this sharp. But I'm digressing a little bit there. I think he probably will get sold in the summer. I think.
To who?
Jesse
Who do you think he'll go to?
Whereby he can just refuse to sign a new contract, and I think United owe it to him, having been such a loyal servant over the last 8-9 years, to let him leave. So I think he will go. I think United will probably be able to get 20 to 30 million for him from West Ham, but I don't think he signs.
Interesting.
How good is it to watch him though, Mikey? Like, watch Jesse Lingard prove people wrong. I'm enjoying watching Jesse Lingard play football once again so much, and it's partially down to the fact that everybody said he was useless, and it was just never the case. Like, I remember I think I did a We Need to Talk at the end of January, ranking January transfers, and I said that Jesse Lingard is a great signing, and that if he pushes them into the European spots, he's even better than that. And he's going to push them into European spots. I don't think West Ham will finish outside of the Europa League now. And for me, Jesse Lingard has been a massive contributing factor to that. It's like 6 goals in 8 games now. This couldn't have gone any better for Manchester United. Absolutely couldn't have gone any better. £2.5 million loan fee. West Ham paying 100% of his wages. His market value's massively increased over the last 6 months. And Man United will probably say to West Ham, look, can we do a deal here? I agree. I don't think United will try and hold him to ransom with 1 year left on his contract. I think they'll be perfectly willing to sell him to West Ham and at a bigger fee. But I think if you were Dele Alli, you'd be looking at this move going, what could have been? Like, this is what can happen from a January transfer of like changing your career fortunes around. And Jesse Lingard is living proof of that, so I'm absolutely buzzing for him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to think. You think West Ham's the only club that could possibly go after him?
No, I think he'd be a really good acquisition for Leicester as well. I think he'd probably be an upgrade on a Yossi Perez, who's playing in that similar sort of role to him, and definitely provide competition for the likes of Harvey Barnes. I think he'd be a very good signing for an Everton. James Rodriguez doesn't play every minute of every game, does he? Let's face it, with that injury record, and Gylfi Sigurdsson, now he's playing a slightly more reserved role. I think there's probably room for Jesse Lingard in that Everton side somewhere. So I think that level, West Ham, Everton, Aston Villa he'd be really good for if they can't get Ross Barkley on a permanent, and his form's kind of dropped off pretty significantly anyway, hasn't it?
Yes,
so,
that's a very good point.
I think there's loads of clubs that are battling for Europa League and lower top four that Jesse would be fantastic for. I just don't think he's going to come back to Manchester United, who are trying to take that next step now, and probably doesn't want to either. He's having a great time in London. Let him be.
Fair enough. I also heard some crazy rumours that West Ham would be open to even selling Rice and Souček in the summer, which
it's rubbish, absolute nonsense. Definitely.
But look, we mentioned Declan Rice there, and over the weekend we heard some sad news that he is now out for at least a month, possibly longer. It could affect his position in the England Euro squad. It will definitely affect West Ham in the Premier League. It must be said, Mark Noble was pretty good against Wolves. The Hammers have proved that they can deal with injuries this season. They've had knocks to several players and still carried on this fantastic form. But Declan Rice is Declan Rice. He's the kind of glue that sticks everything together in that team, and it's going to be very interesting to see how they deal without him for this month. As I said, Noble was good against Wolves. Wolves weren't too amazing, but he was pretty decent. Antonio as well could also be out with an injury too.
Their running's all right though. West Ham's running's all right. Like, it's probably the easiest of the lot, to be honest with you. Chelsea and Leicester aside, it's like Newcastle, Burnley, Brighton, West Brom, Southampton.
Precisely, yeah, and I think Everton as well. But Joe, okay then, do you think West Ham can secure a Champions League place? They are now 1 point above my beloved Blues.
No, I don't think they'll get Champions League football. I think that Rice injury will probably just devoid them of that, but I think they're perfectly capable of finishing the Europa League, and I would be surprised if they don't. I think they've got 5 extremely winnable games left this season: Newcastle, Burnley, Brighton, West Ham, West Brom and Southampton. I think they might win.
Hey, put some respect on West Brom, all right?
I think they might win 3 or 4 of those games, and that'll be enough to get them into those Europa League spots, which is a massive dub for David Moyes, and he should feel very proud of that achievement, because I don't think anybody would have said that they could do that at the start of the year, and they'll now be able to kick on, and maybe they do become the next Leicester, because they've got a great stadium, they've got a decent little squad forming there, and David Moyes, if he can find that level of consistency in the transfer market that he's maybe been missing prior to this last summer, when Souček arrived on a permanent and Lingard was brought in January, and Ben Rama was signed, then they could fire themselves up the league again.
Yeah, I mean their actual talent acquisition's been pretty good over the past year or so. As you said, all of their signings have kind of been a success. Ben Rama maybe less so, but he's not really played as much, and he's still got a decent future ahead of him. I just think it's crazy that Hammers fans left the Olympic Stadium fuming, battling it for relegation, and when they return, they could be playing in Europe.
They do still need investment though in that squad. Like, the squad is good, but it's not amazing. And over the last few years, we've seen massive failures by the ownership. The likes of Seb Allaire coming in, didn't work, did it? So it's easy to say that they can do this, but they've got to prove themselves capable of recruiting players like Jarrod Bowen, Jesse Lingard, Soufal, Souček, again this summer, and not reverting to the type of Felipe Anderson, which are all just pretty poor.
It'll be a huge summer
big
for them.
centre back signing needed, isn't there? I think.
Yes, yeah. Isn't it? Who's at the back at the moment? Is it Dawson?
Great Dawson's still back there.
Yeah,
he's having a stunning season, so there's no reason to say he can do it again next year either.
Yeah, sure.
Very
I mean, you know, the future of Declan Rice is going to be very interesting. Whether he stays this summer, and if they do sell him, they'll get a lot of money for him, right? And so they need to be able to spend that well. And as I said, the past few signings, they've shown that they can spend it well and wisely. But here's how David Moyes reacted to his team getting a Champions League place so far.
Well, we are, and we said before the players, we have to go and we have to take it on. Why not? West Ham are getting talked about being fourth. I'm hearing pundits and people on the radio talking about West Ham, and I'm thinking, you're talking about West Ham here, get a chance in the Champions League. Nobody would have envisaged that last season. Nobody would have mentioned it. So it's great credit. Can we keep it going? We're going to try and do it. Yeah, we are. Of course we are. So all those big teams that are trying to get to fourth, we're going to try and compete with them all the way right to the end.
Now it's time to talk about the losers, and it's none other than Chelsea Football Club, as they lost 5-2 to West Brom after I said on Sunday Vibes that they have an unbelievable defence, and went on to go and concede 5 goals against one of the worst teams in the league. Somehow, Chelsea have conceded 8 goals in their 2 games against West Brom this season in the Premier League. And
Christ.
It's the most they've shipped against one side in a single campaign in the competition. They've never conceded more goals in one season to a club than West Brom. Jesus
Ridiculous.
Christ. Now look, Chelsea conceded 5 goals at home in a Premier League game for only the second time. Last time doing so against Arsenal when they lost 5-3 back in 2011. It was also the first time that they've conceded at home under Thomas Tuchel in all competitions in just his 8th game in charge at Stamford Bridge. Now Thiago's red card on 29 minutes was Chelsea's earliest in a Premier League since August 2017 when Gary Cahill was sent off against Burnley after just 14 minutes. Was it a red card, boys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
It was definitely a yellow card, wasn't it? So
I
that's
also
the
agree.
question.
Yeah, exactly. It was a second yellow card. I am maybe just a bit annoyed that nothing was looked at, maybe with the Werner incident in the penalty box. But you know what? Alas, it is what it is. Joe, as a Chelsea, for the Chelsea fans watching, is it time to panic, or is it just a one-off due to a man down?
It's not time to panic, is it? I think that's Tuchel's first loss as Chelsea boss. I think it's definitely not time to panic. The red card is a massive issue there and probably game defining. I think where I would be slightly nervous is about Chelsea's lack of ability to score goals under Thomas Tuchel so far. I feel like he's traded off having
season, to be honest, mate.
I do feel like he's traded off more recently, though, having a very solid defence and that 3 at the back structure with wing backs, with 2 defensive midfielders in front of him. That is quite solid, very structured. He's kind of traded that off with lack of goals. I think they haven't scored more than 2 in a game yet under Tuchel, have they? Which is fine. He wants to obviously build a base, and results so far have proved that that's been working. He's been keeping a lot of clean sheets, and Chelsea defence has improved under him, so that's fine. And I think in the Champions League, it's probably the way to go against, Porto. I would probably stick with what he knows, but maybe against West Brom it's time to mix it up a bit. Do we still need to see the 3 at the back system against the teams like West Brom from the get-go? I think Tammy Abraham probably deserves a little bit more respect than not being in the squad at the moment. Give him top goal scorer in all competitions, I think. I struggle to see how he can't make the squad, to be totally honest with you. And I think the long-term vision really should be to embed Tammy Abraham in that 9 role, or at least as the reserve 9, and then look, Olivier Giroud's going to leave in the summer and leave Olivier Giroud on the bench. But I think there maybe just needs to be a few tactical tweaks under Tuchel, and he'll address them in the summer, but it's definitely not time to panic if you're a Chelsea fan. I think that game was a bit of a one-off.
Yeah, and as bad as Chelsea were, I mean, we also should give some credit to West Brom, who scored some pretty fantastic goals. Pereira had an unbelievable game, 6 shots, 4 on target, 2 dribbles, 2 goals and 2 assists. And if West Brom go down, or when West Brom go down, he would be a very good pickup for a club in the Premier League, and he's still only 24 as well, so it could be pretty good there. Callum Robinson came off the bench to replace the substitute Ivanovic, who got injured after chasing Werner. Robinson went on to score 2 goals in that game. He's the first player in Premier League history to score at least twice in home and away games against Chelsea within a single season. Absolute bogey team, this. Quickly, my thoughts. I think Tammy Abraham is a very good point. I don't quite understand how he's not getting in the squad. he is someone who offers something different to Giroud and to Werner, and a guy who actually probably been our best. He's our top goal scorer this season and probably been our best striker. And so to kind of just put him out of the squad is weird, especially when I know he's had injuries and maybe it's like just making sure he's not going to get injured when he comes back. But he seemed like he was 100% fit for this game. And if he's not getting into this first team squad now, I'm pretty sure he'll probably be thinking about his future, especially with now. It looks like he may be out of the England squad for the Euros, especially if he doesn't get back into the Chelsea squad anytime soon.
Jellab, what do you think about Pulisic as well? I'll ask you the same question, Mikey. I watched Pulisic. Obviously, first half looks pretty good, and then comes out at half time to do his warm up and pulls his hamstring. It's like,
it ain't great.
At what stage, Mikey?
It's a bit of a worry.
Would you cut your losses on Pulisic, Mikey, at this summer, given the amount of attacking talent they've got, or would you stick with him?
I would stick with him. Yeah. But I just really love Pulisic. Like the form he showed at the back end of last season, I think, is the best I've seen any Chelsea player play in the last 2 years. At least any Chelsea attacking player play. I don't know whether you'd agree, Zach.
Hazard had some
for sure, but maybe since Hazard.
Yeah, for sure.
But I would stick with him. I really like him. I actually included him as a bit of a wild card option in our 10 future Ballon d'Or winners 10 that came out yesterday. On this channel, and it got a lot of hate, a lot of Pulisic haters out there, and I think they seem to have forgotten like how good he can be. I don't know. Yeah, I'd still stick with him. I don't think Chelsea are in a position where they're under pressure to sell him.
Yeah,
it's not like he's like a disruptive presence. The injury problems are a bit of a worry, I must admit. He's been injured a lot since he's been there. But I think you've got to give him. Another season because when he's on song, he can run that attack.
Yeah, for sure.
And I know you've got Hudson-Odoi, I know you've got Havertz, but having that kind of depth is brilliant. And if you're Chelsea, you're wanting to go for the title next season with a manager like Tuchel and a squad like that. And I think Pulisic is one of those match winners that. On his day, that there aren't too many players who can make a difference like him. So I would definitely stick with him for another year.
I'm also like the hamstring injury hasn't helped because it started hamstring and calf injury. It all started kind of last season and it's been affecting him ever since. He hasn't really had a break. I'm hoping, I don't know for a fact, but I'm hoping there's no international tournament for America this summer because a nice bit of time off because compared to the 3 weeks they had off last time before they had to get back to the football again with the season starting. If there's no international football for him, I think he'll hopefully, touch wood, be okay next year. But look, as I said, credit to West Brom. Chelsea were kind of at fault for all their own goals. Some passes from Aspie and Reece, and also Jorginho didn't help. But it is what it is. Mikey, Tuchel said that he didn't see that coming from West Brom. Do you think he may have underestimated them?
I mean, I think we all did, didn't we? I mean, it's rare to see West Brom put out a performance like that. I mean, maybe he could have looked at the start of the season, in that return fixture at the Hawthorns and been like, "Oh, West Brom are a bit dangerous." But in that game, it was, you really gifted them their goals. You staged that pretty impressive comeback in the second half of that game as well. I remember Mason Mount being particularly good. So I don't think he could have looked at that and been like, "This is the game that we're going to get." And he certainly wouldn't have thought that Matheus Pereira was going to have the game that he had, although I think he is an excellent player and I agree, Zach, I think he'll be a great pickup in the summer for anyone who's in need of that kind of creative spark in the final third. I think he's definitely a kind of mid-table level Premier League player. So no, I don't think you can blame Tuchel too much. If anything, later, like Joe was saying, he could have set up the team in a slightly more positive shape, I think. They're not, they're a team that you should be putting away, obviously, and it just so happened that today they were just everything they hit went in. All their attacking players just were
on fire.
Were on song, and Pereira in particular just ran the show, didn't he? So I don't think he needs to worry too much.
Indeed. Yeah, I think the substitute for Callum Robinson and going 4 at the back when we were a man down absolutely ruined us and just pure attacking on us and defensively we were a bit of a mess. However, we got Porto tomorrow, so that's all the focus that it should be on. But here's what Tuchel said after the game about whether this is a wake-up call for Chelsea.
If we look at this game like in 4 weeks, hopefully we call it a wake-up call because that would mean that we really waked up and we start a new series.
That's all the time we have for today's winners and losers. Hope you guys at home have enjoyed it. Make sure you get your comments down below. Let us know what you thought of the weekend just gone and any other kind of stories that we missed out on. McCubbin, what should a lot of people at home go and do next?
Well, we put loads of videos out over the Easter weekend. 10 future Ballon d'Or winners came out yesterday. On Saturday, we put out a video on the Beneliga, which, if you didn't know, is the idea of merging the Netherlands Eredivisie and the Belgian Pro League together, and what that could mean for football if it happens. That's got a pretty good reception so far, so go and check that out if you haven't already.
Lovely. I think also on Sunday Vibes we spoke about who will win the Champions League. Joe, anything from you, my friend?
Come over to Snapchat, follow us on Snapchat, watch us on Snapchat. That's pretty much it.
Love it. Also, wish us luck in the comments. We've got our 5-a-side game today, which we could get 3 points from. So, fingers crossed. Have a good week. Have a good Monday. Tuesday. Jesus Christ. See you later. Bye.